Hi everybody, I'm VanDusen, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about how to achieve your goals the smart way. So everyone should set goals for themselves, whether that's getting promoted, becoming a better designer, learning Photoshop, learning how to do video. You don't improve unless you set goals for yourself. Now, goals can be set in a professional environment, but I also believe that you should set goals and write them down for personal development or personal business development if you're a freelancer or an independent contractor. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about a technique that I've used in my professional career setting goals for graphic designers and for myself. And it's using a system called SMART goals. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. All of those aspects of the goal setting process are really important, and you'll see what I mean when I start to walk through how you set a SMART goal. Let's start with S, specific. What is it exactly that you're going to do? For example, are you going to improve your Photoshop skills? Are you going to learn about layers? Are you going to learn about layer masks or effects? Break it down into very specific, bite-sized things that you want to achieve. So M stands for measurable. You want part of your SMART goal to lay out a very measurable aspect of what that goal is going to achieve. So for example, if you learn those Photoshop techniques, the measurable part of the goal might be that you're going to produce 5 Photoshop pieces that use those techniques. So 5 being a very measurable aspect of the goal. And when designers and people that I've worked with who've written SMART goals write them, measurable is always the place where they fall down and they kind of forget. So think about a very specific, measurable aspect of what the goal is going to achieve. So A stands for attainable. You want to make sure that the goals you set are attainable, so it's something that you can actually achieve. Yes, you might have to learn something in the case of this Photoshop idea that you would need to learn in order to achieve the goal, but could you teach yourself that? Would you have to take an online tutorial? Would you have to reach out to someone else to learn it? If one of those things are totally impossible, the goal is not attainable. So you want to create goals that are attainable. R stands for realistic. Just like attainable, is your goal realistic? So in the case of the Photoshop idea, do you even own Photoshop? If you didn't own Photoshop, that goal of learning more Photoshop techniques would be unrealistic. So think about whether this goal that you have is actually a realistic goal. T stands for time-bound or timely. Setting a very specific time or calendarized parameter to your goal is very, very important in motivating you to get the goal achieved. So in the case of the Photoshop example, let's say we're going to commit to a goal of learning these new Photoshop techniques within 4 weeks. So 4 weeks would be the time-bound or timely aspect of this SMART goal. Here's an example of not a SMART goal. Not a SMART goal would be, I'm going to get better at Photoshop. So let's turn that into a SMART goal. A SMART goal would be, I'm going to get better at Photoshop by taking an online tutorial to learn more about Photoshop layers and effects. I'm going to create 5 new Photoshop pieces and complete them within 4 weeks. That's a SMART goal. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's time-bound. Then the next step that you do is you put your goal on a calendar. So 4 weeks from now, on Friday, you put a notification that says, your Photoshop goal is due. Anything that doesn't get calendarized or doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. So I highly recommend that you write down your SMART goal and you calendarize it. Another thing to do is to add reminders. So every few days or every week, put something on your calendar that says, hey, you got 3 more weeks to go or 2 more weeks to go or 1 more week to go to get your Photoshop goal done. That way you'll be constantly reminded of that time-bound aspect of your SMART goal. So let's look at 2 more examples of SMART goals just to drive the point home of how they work. Here's one for a designer or a content creator. To improve my content creation skills, I will write 1 new blog post every week for the next 8 weeks. Simple goal, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So here's another example for an entrepreneur or a small business person. To improve my flow of new business, I will find 2 potential customer targets a week and cold call them to introduce my business over the next 3 months. So that goal is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Over the years of writing SMART goals for my teams and also for myself, I've found that the hardest part is the specific and measurable parts. What I recommend people do is write smaller goals and more of them, rather than big, hairy goals and fewer of them. In the specific and measurable aspects of your goals, take off smaller chunks. So get very granular and very achievable in the goals that you're writing. And make sure to make them time-bound and schedule them. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to achieve your goals the smart way. And if you did, please hit subscribe below so you can see my videos when they come out. And visit me at philipvandusen.com/muse and subscribe to my newsletter. It comes out every 2 weeks, and I share an insight and trends and resources on graphic design and entrepreneurship. And with that, thanks again for watching. Bye for now.